Ah, Shovel Knight. The indie game sensation that took the gaming scene by storm back when it was first released in 2014. It paid tribute to the NES era of games while also establishing its own identity as one of the modern greats, and since its release, we've seen an additional 3 campaigns released over the past few years, one of which will be the focus of this video. Be sure to stick around until the end to find out whether I think it still holds up 3.5 years later. What is up everybody, I hope you're all good. My name is Peter, and welcome to the first Halloween special for this channel. To start off our spooky celebrations, I thought I'd talk about the Spectre of Torment campaign found within the complete Shovel Knight Treasure Trove package, as I always find myself in the mood to play it around this time of year. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Spectre of Torment was initially released in March of 2017, as one of the few launch titles for the Nintendo Switch and as a timed exclusive for the system for 1 month, seeing a release on all other platforms afterwards as intended. In a launch lineup where The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was the main attraction, it was nice to have it as an additional option for those that may not have been huge Zelda fans, so I thought it was worth mentioning. Seeing as I hadn't purchased Shovel Knight on the Wii U or any of the other platforms it was already on, I pretty much pretended that it was a new game, seeing as I got the Switch close to its launch, so it was something else to play alongside Zelda to make the wait for the likes of Super Mario Odyssey and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 go more smoothly. One of the first things that are immediately obvious in Spectre of Torment is that it comes in the form of a prequel story set before the events of the main Shovel of Hope story, which differs from the Plague of Shadows expansion, which mostly takes place at the same time. This time round, you control Specter Knight, one of the bosses in the original, as you follow him on his journey to recruit the members of the Order of No Quarter that ultimately gets in Shovel Knight's way by the time the original game starts. I think it's cool that we get to see the events leading up to the group being formed, and it makes sense that this would get explored in a prequel story, as we also get to see different sides to these characters that we've previously seen as simple obstacles in Shovel of Hope. It's also nice to see how Specter Knight himself interacts with them compared to the interactions they had with Shovel Knight, so if you felt you wanted to see more of the Shovel Knight world from a different character's perspective, then Spectre of Torment once again delivers in this department. Throughout the narrative, we get exposed to glimpses of Specter Knight's past, chronicling the events leading up to becoming who he is by the time of the story, and like I said before, this helps to flesh out the world of Shovel Knight even further, and makes us care more about his journey and want to help him achieve it. And due to this particular story's darker undertones and generally ghostly atmosphere, this explains why I've reserved this video for a Halloween special. Also, unlike Plague of Shadows, the levels we get are not simply remixed versions of the ones we had already played in Shovel of Hope, rather they have been redesigned to cater to Specter Knight's unique moveset. As expected, the level design was cleverly done, as it teaches you the game's mechanics without having to interrupt the flow of the game with overly long tutorials, which have become a standard in modern gaming. Instead, there are visual cues that immediately communicate how certain mechanics will work, which then get expanded on as the level progresses. Specter Knight has a different moveset to our shovel-wielding hero from before, so this opens up new ways of experiencing the Shovel Knight world. The main move we get with our robed friend comes in the form of a Scythe Slash, which can be performed both on the ground and in the air. When in close proximity to enemies or certain obstacles, Specter Knight can lock onto them and charge in their direction with a slash, potentially using that momentum to gain new heights, which the game plays around with in many creative and fun ways. Spectre also has the ability to walk up walls for a couple of seconds and jump off of them, meaning that those that played the previous campaigns will have to rethink how they will approach each level, as this opens up new ways of traversal. On top of that, Spectre can surf on grind rails using a scythe, which provides some speedy fun while also looking pretty damn cool in the process, and an eventual suit upgrade allows him to do this on almost any surface, including otherwise deadly spikes. The way you go about selecting levels also differs from the other campaigns. Instead of the world map reminiscent of Super Mario Bros. 3, you get the option to choose which area you want to go to in whatever order you want, pretty much like when you can choose which robot master you want to take on in the classic Mega Man games. I think this is a nice change of pace, as we're not just revisiting the same map, but rather we've been given this freedom to shape the story in whatever order we feel. And it also means that I'm not stopped in my tracks if there's a particular level that is giving me a hard time, so I welcome this change. During the game, you'll come across different secrets, specifically collectibles that come in the form of red skulls. No, not that one, which you can then redeem for curios. sub-weapons which are Spectre of Torment equivalent to the main game's relics. I haven't exactly put the curios to good use throughout my playthrough however, but they are certainly fun to utilise when I presented myself with the opportunity. You have a darkness meter which indicates how much energy you have left, so that you don't rely on spamming curios, as that would be pretty overpowered, let's be honest. I think it's commendable that Yacht Club Games have gone out of their way to make this expansion feel as if it's a completely different game from the original Shovel Knight release. They even composed new remixes of the existing soundtrack to make it more fitting for Spectre Knight, and things like this show how much this kind of effort can go a long way to make it a worthwhile package. As of the time of this video, the Treasure Trove has been completed in terms of adding extra content, and there are 3 other stories besides the one I'm currently talking about, as well as a bonus fighting game on top. So if you haven't experienced it yet, I'd strongly recommend checking out the Shovel Knight Treasure Trove package, as it's a fraction of the price of a full-on AAA release, while also having plenty of content to keep you busy for quite some time. The Spectre of Torment expansion alone is, in my opinion, a very fitting title to play if you want to get into the Halloween spirit, as it's certainly doing that for me. I think it's safe to say that it is my favourite campaign to come out of the Shovel Knight Treasure Trove package in general. Overall, Spectre of Torment has been an absolute pleasure to revisit, and it's still enjoyable to play 3.5 years later, after I was first exposed to it. So if you haven't experienced it, or Shovel Knight in general, go out there and play it. You will especially love it if you gravitate towards games that came out of the NES, as you'll notice different elements that remind you of the classics. Hey there! Thank you so much for watching the first ever Halloween special for the channel. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you liked what you saw, check out some of my other videos and subscribe to the Peter Gargan channel for more content on all things Nintendo and any other games I happen to be interested in covering. Feel free to share this video around with any friends that you think may be interested in hearing what I have to say, as it would help tremendously. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, see you later.